Little Smoky River, you being good to me. From every fallen timber, be a strong standing tree.
How's it going, everybody? It's Dusty Tucker. I have a quick video for you guys today. I'm just going to be loading up some 38 special black powder cartridges. And I'm just going to show you the things that you need and the process that I use to load these cartridges, and they're a lot of fun. First of all, you're obviously going to need some black powder. I recently came into Schutzen and love the stuff. Never shot it before, but now that I got it and I've been shooting it, I love it. It shoots a little bit cleaner than GoX does. It works well under compression. For like cartridges and everything like that. This is triple F granule size. You're gonna need some, obviously black powder. You're gonna need some type of transferring device. You can use one of these type of devices. You're gonna have to use a set amount of grains for that. You're gonna obviously need some 38 special die set. Small pistol primers. I'm just using Winchester. It says for magnum loads, but honestly, it's fine. Little cartridge box that I made for the end game. Kind of neat. You're going to need some form of black powder lubricant. I would just make it from home. It's a lot cheaper than buying it at stores, especially in Canada. You can buy lubricants, but they're ridiculously expensive on like Amazon or wherever you want to pick it up. It's just, it's ridiculously expensive. Projectiles, you can use, well, I have this cool little projectile here. You might have seen this on a previous video. This is a 93 or 97 grain. We'll just call it a 97 grain. Conical it's 375 dropped out of the mold, and I sized it down to 357 or 358. It's a little bit softer lead. It has a 45-45-10 smokeless propellant lubricant on it, so it could work in this projectile, but we're gonna go ahead and just use the 125 grain projectile. Before you ask, don't ask me what mold this came out of. I got it at a garage sale, and it is a 5-cavity mold. There's no writings on the mold at all. It almost looks like it was made in a shop or something. Somebody must have made it. These projectiles shoot very well out of a 36 caliber cap and ball percussion revolver. I shot them out of my 1861 Navy Paolo, and it performed very well, even with 15 grains of powder. So I haven't tried them yet in a cartridge with black powder, but I think I might in the future here. I'll have to, maybe that could be a different video in itself, comparing these two cartridges with the black powder. The only problem that I think I might have with this projectile is that it might not go down into the case enough, because 15 grains of powder doesn't really eat up. I might have to go 2 wads or something a little bit ridiculous, but we'll get into that in a different video. You're going to want some kind of filler. Now, there's a few different methods that you could use for this. I'm going to be using a wad that's just punched out with a, what is it, 3/8, I think? Yeah, 3/8 punch. You can buy these combo punch sets from PV Mart, Princess Auto in Canada, or probably Harbor Freight in the US. I wouldn't doubt it. They come in a bag of like 5 or 6, maybe even 8 different sizes. The one I use for 38 special would be the 3/8, and it punches out a bunch of. You're gonna want some kind of tamping tool. You can either use a dowel. If you use a 3/8 dowel that's maybe shaved down a little bit on the circumference by a sander, you could use that. I'm just using a copper nail that I ground down on the edges a little bit here. you're going to want to be able to push it inside the case to compress it before you load it. I think that's pretty much it. Gonna flip the camera around here and we're gonna get started. And before we get started in the loading process, I just want to talk about projectiles pretty quick here with you. This is just what I have available, and then I have the 125 round flat point bullets, which I typically use in cowboy action shooting. This has a small lube groove in it for smokeless lubricant. This is the one I was showing before. This is the 97 grain round nose flat base projectile. And then I also have 158 grain, also smokeless. This one is not sized or lubed. It's just kind of an example piece of something that I could also use. But what I would really want to use is the Snakebite Grease Wagon bullet by Big Lube. I can't remember what the website's called. I think it's just called Big Lube. Dick Dastardly Big Lube Projectiles bullet molds. He has a website. I could try to show the link in the description if I figure out how to ever do that. But it's basically like, this is a 4440 projectile. You see how big that grease groove is in it? Pretty massive. It can hold a lot of black powder lubricant. These babies will last a lot longer, and it'll keep the fouling a lot softer inside that barrel. These bullets that I'm shooting out of, going to be shooting them out of my Cattlemen's, my 1851 Cattlemen's, and their barrels are relatively short, so you typically wouldn't need a big grease groove in that projectile. But for me, I just like to have more than not enough. I would prefer a big lube projectile. So the Snakebite Grease Wagon is 158 grain 38 special or 357 bullet that would work very well with black powder, with that giant big recess for lube in the lube groove there. So that's the ultimate one that you could use for this projectile. That's what I would typically want to use. I just don't have the funds for that mold. However, I might be getting a surprise in the mail here soon, which I will show an unboxing video on in the future if I ever do get it. I have ordered it a month ago now, and I still haven't had the transfer status complete yet. I really hope to get it soon. I want to start using it. I want to shoot it so bad. I can't wait for it. But it's going to specifically be shooting black powder projectiles. Not specifically, but probably 90% of the time. I might shoot smokeless out of it, but anyways, I just wanted to show you guys, or tell you guys, that there is a better alternative than just your regular smokeless. It will work, don't get me wrong. You could also, if you really feel like it, you could take out this lubricant, or you could just lube it with black powder lubricant. It'll help a little bit, but it's not going to be the ultimate way. The ultimate way would be, for me as of right now, would be to use a wad with like a grease cookie or filler with just some lubricant over top of it type thing. But the end game result that I'm going to be going after is that big Snakebite Grease Wagon Big Lube bullet mold. It's a 6 cavity, so you pump them out pretty quick versus just a 2 or a single cavity bullet mold. But anyways, we're going to get back to it now. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain as best as possible how I load these cartridges. If you are unfamiliar with loading black powder cartridges, perhaps maybe talk to somebody who does load them, just to reassure yourself in safety and not going out of your comfort zone, so to speak. If you're not comfortable loading black powder cartridges, by all means, do a little more research before you do it. I'll try to explain it as best as I can. I know lots of people are either too scared to load black powder cartridges because of the information that other people have experienced or have heard stories of exploding barrels and stuff like that. This is strictly black powder only. And you don't want to use smokeless. This much smokeless powder would blow up your gun, obviously. So make sure that it's not a black powder substitute. It is full-on black powder. This is German stuff. It's really good. So that's what we're going to be using is Schützen. This is a complete cartridge. This is I make sure that I mark it indicating that it is indeed black powder, not smokeless. And I will also obviously be able to tell if I get that other bullet mold, I'll be able to tell by the projectile that it's black powder, and I won't have to question myself. Anyways, so to get started, obviously you need some empty casings and your die set and everything else. I'm just going to load 2 on camera. I have a bunch loaded already in this little box that I made. I can't believe how expensive the vintage style boxes are. Not actually vintage boxes, but the replicated ones that look like vintage boxes. They're like $15 to $25 for an empty piece of cardboard. It's just ridiculous, so I just make my own. They're not very fancy. You don't have to go ridiculous. I just kind of copied it off of a Google image. Anyway, so obviously this has been deprimed and resized. I don't have a wet tumbler, so it's not the cleanest in the world, but it's just black powder. It doesn't need to be flawless to shoot. So we're just going to go ahead and put a fresh primer off camera, and we're also going to do a case mouth expansion. There we go. So we have a new primer. I like to have them basically flush, if anything slightly below flush, because if you have a high primer, it's going to drag on the back of your frame, and it's going to cause issues. If you're in competition shooting, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't started competition shooting, well, I'm just giving you a pre-heads up. You don't want to have a high primer. It sucks. Anyways, we're going to do the same thing with this guy. Just bear with me off camera for a few seconds. Alright, so there we go. We're ready to go. I always just give it a quick feel. This is why I like single stage presses. Take your time and you won't screw up. If you're rushing it, I wouldn't try loading if you're rushing it anyways. Okay, so in this little flask, we have some of this Schützen powder. I have a spout here preset for 15 grains. So you just cover the end there, open the valve, tip it upside down, release the valve, and we got 15 grains ready to go. Sorry if it's out of focus. So we're just going to drop 15 grains down in there. That is our load. Our load is 15 grains. That's it. That's all we got. So we're going to put 15 grains in this other case here. I'm trying to do this first person. I always like to check. You can see there, I didn't have enough powder. Try it again. Sometimes the valve sticks open and the powder falls back inside. You want to make sure you got 15 grains. You could use this guy too, just a regular powder measure. Mark them down to 15 grains. This is set for 25. Okay, so now we want to compress the powder, not ridiculously, but enough. I like to hear that crunch, and then that's pretty much as far as I go. There. Now I'm going to take a wad. Now you don't have to use a wad. If you don't have a wad cutter, or if you don't have wads, you can use crushed up shredded wheat. You can use pretty much anything you want as filler as long as it's dry light and it takes up volume, you can pretty much use it. You could use wasp nest if you had nothing else. Even that'll work. You can use just be creative. You can use whatever. I just like wads because it's easy. So we're going to take a dry wad and we're going to stick it down over top of that powder because you don't want any air in that case at all. Now I just dumped out some powder. Me fumbling here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this back down inside here. Probably spilling some. Sorry if you guys can't see what I'm doing. It's really hard to... I don't have enough room on my desk for a camera or a tripod or any of that stuff. I'll pick up that powder with a piece of paper later on. So I'm going to pour another spout full here. I have the camera wedged right in front of me, so this is kind of difficult to do. Okay, more powder. Good. You want to make sure you have a nice padded surface. This is a big piece, a thick piece of 14-ounce leather on my table. So people give me crap in my videos for having loose primers up here and all sorts of stuff like that. It's really thick leather. Nothing is going to happen. I've been doing it for 5-7 years now. I've never had an issue. It's too soft. It's like it's just nothing's gonna happen. We're all good here. So I crushed it. What did I do with my wad? I can't see it. The camera's in front of my face. Put our wad in. Push it down over top. All right. Okay, so there we go. We got our 15 grains of powder in there, and we got a nice big juicy thick wad. So now we want to figure out if we're gonna have enough compression. So you can see I have a little black mark on here indicating how much room. See how it's a little bit much. I have to edit this. That was before powder or before wad. So now that I have a wad in there, I need to actually mark a different spot on here. This is just an easy way to tell how much gap you're gonna have. So I'm gonna flip it over this way. All right. So we're going to go at the very bottom of the case mouth. Like that. Clearly you can see. Okay. So there we go. That's about right. So that's how much room we have. All right. So then we take our projectile and take the base of it to that crimp groove. And you can see that we're within compression range there. We're pretty good. That's squishing it down. Yeah, you can see that we're good. So you go to the crimp groove and the base of the bullet. It looks like there's a tiny little bit of room there, but you saw how much squish room there is in that case with that wad. But we're not done yet anyways. We're going to have more room filled because you could shoot it like that and you would probably be okay, but longevity, you might not get 25, 50 cartridges off before some pretty bad fouling sets in, gumming up your gun and everything. So we're actually going to put some homebrew black powder lube in there first before we seat the bullet. So I'm just going to scrape off just a little bit, probably just that much of my black powder mixture, and I'm going to stick it right on top of the wad. Basically a grease cookie on top of the wad. Now, me just being me, I'm going to fill the circumference of that up. That's just how I am. You don't have to do that. This is plenty enough lubricant. That's already more than would fill the lube groove for the big lube bullet. So now I know that we're going to have enough compression. I could test it again if I really wanted to. Yeah, you see how much more room that gave us? But we're also, see, that's basically the grease cookie right there that you're left with. That's quite a bit of grease. Push it in and slide it off. So we're going to have plenty of compression in there. We're going to put our bullet on top, and we're going to seat it and crimp it. I'm going to do that off camera. just because I don't feel like, if you guys have loaded before, you know what's going on. So there we go. A little bit of excess will come out, but not ridiculously. I just take it and wipe it off. There we go. So there we go. There's a loaded black powder 38 special cartridge. And I'm just going to take a marker and mark the back. That's important for me. I would suggest doing the same thing to make sure that you know that that's a black powder cartridge. So there we go. We're going to do it one more time with this other one here. Just take a bit of black powder lube, fill up the, well, you don't have to fill it up. Just put a cookie, I call it a grease cookie, over top like that. You know that's going to be enough compression. We tested it with the other one. Put the bullet on, go and seat it. Give it a nice firm crimp. I like to have my projectiles all have a nice, just gonna give it a wipe real quick to get the excess off. I like to have a nice crimp on all of my cartridges. I like to be able to run my nail across the lead in the case and not catch my nail. That's just me. You don't have to do it that way. That's just me being a little crimp obsessive. But I find you get a little better compression that way. A little more accuracy, especially when it comes to rifle cartridges. Gives the powder more time to fully ignite before the bullet projectile leaves the barrel or the cylinder. So there we go. We got 3 loaded black powder 38 special cartridges. And I got a few extras in here as well. And I also have a nice full box. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Dusty Tucker. I finally was able to make it out to the range. It looks like we might get some rain today, so I'm going to try to jump into the rest of this video as fast as I can. So, those 38 special black powder cartridges that I was loading earlier, to me it was a different day, but to you guys, you get the luxury of seeing it all in one day. So, I'm loading them in my 1873 U-Birdie Cattlemen. It's going to look backwards to you guys. I'm using the forward face on my camera. I apologize. I know I'll get it in shot this way. So it may look like the loading gate's on the right to you guys. Or on the left, I mean. So this is the 1873 Cattlemen by U-Birdie. This is an old model Cattlemen. Well, Gen 2, I think. It has the hammer on the, or it has the firing pin on the hammer. And I got it loaded up with those black powder cartridges. I antiqued this revolver myself. The other one looks exactly the same, just a little bit different. I got rid of the red wood on it. I did a pretty decent job, I think. Looks pretty good. So let's go take it up. Let's go to 10 yards or so and just see how these perform. Okay, so we're about 10 yards-ish. I'll give you guys kind of the good view of this. Let's give it a whirl. I'm just going to shoot one-handed. That's it. Let's go take a look how we did. 125 grain with a wad. With this paper, it's going to be a little hard to tell. So to you guys, it's going to look to the right. It's to the left for me. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5th one that dropped down here. Actually, that was a wad. So a wad hit here because that's not a hole directly through. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 5 shots are in a line here. It's kind of hard to tell with this crappy paper, but yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all right in a line there, so it performs pretty well. It's a pretty accurate round, but like I said, the wad that dropped, so you got to kind of keep an eye on the wads. I'm shooting them fairly close, so there's quite a bit. Oh, it looks like the lube is working very well. I'll show you the muzzle of the revolver. I just scooped lube and put it on top of the wad. And you can see that we're getting plenty of lubricant inside as well. Looking really good. Nice. All right, so let's load it up and step her back a little bit. All right, we got her loaded up again. We're gonna try at 15 yards this time, one-handed, and we're gonna see how we do. This time I'll give you a side view. Maybe it'll be a little better, not too sure. I'll step back here. All right, let's give her a go. I think I'm shooting left. That should be it. I'm not sure if I hit the paper very much. We'll find out. So you saw those rounds before. Oh, let's see here. Okay, so these are the ones before, and it looks like I have one on the very edge here. So 1, 2, and then there's one high here, 3. I'm not sure. I think those were all from last round. So 1, 2, I got 3 on paper, and you know what? They could be as far back as over here. I'm not sure. I tend to shoot pretty far left when I'm just shooting one-handed, especially farther distances. So that's definitely all me. If I shot with 2 hands, I could probably shoot a lot more accurate. But like I said, these are for cowboy action, so they're only 15 grains of triple F powder with a 125 grain bullet, a wad, and lube. So they're not meant to be stupid accurate. But when I was shooting at, what was I, 10 yards at first, it held really accurate. So, and that's pretty much what distance we're going to be shooting at with cowboy action anyways. So if I shoot one-handed, I'll be completely fine. Two-handed, I'll probably be better off. But I think I might have 5 more loaded, so maybe we'll go 15 with 2 hands and see how we do. This will be the last that I have loaded for this, so stay tuned. All right, so we're about 13-15 yards. We're gonna shoot 2 hands and see if we can do any better this time. Maybe we will get lucky. Clear. Let's see how we did. Shooting low now with 2 hands. Interesting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I believe. That was the wad from previous. Yeah, so we're shooting low with 2 hands. And we're shooting left with 1 hand. But we're all on target for that one, so I'll take it. It could be the wad. Maybe the wad's throwing it a little bit off or something, but most of it's probably me. But that's pretty much, let me just walk back to this table real quick. And I think that's pretty much all I got for this video. I hope you guys found something useful. Maybe you want to load black powder in a 38 special like this yourself. Of course, this brass now has to be tossed in soapy water, preferably warm soapy water, and you let it sit for about 15 minutes, shaking it the odd 10 minutes or so to knock all that fouling loose off the case. And then I like to strain it, put it in the oven to dry. All I do is put it on a tray that you're not going to cook with, put it in the oven, turn the oven on, and by the time it gets up to temperature, it'll be dry. So you turn it off as soon as you hear that beep, and straight into the tumbler, and then it comes out like you never shot black powder in the first place. So it works really well, especially if you do it same day. So I've shot 15 cartridges out of this revolver. My hands are pretty mucky. It seems to be a really well lubricated cartridge or projectile. You can see on the back side here, if you can, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's kind of lube that has gotten there somehow around the cylinder, and the end of the barrel you can see we're well lubricated. And functionality wise, it looks like I could keep going with it. I actually want to get black powder. I want to continue the patina on this revolver, so I'll probably go home, clean the inside, but I will leave the outside as is. I'll take my black powder fouled up hands here, and I'll just touch over the whole thing as I before I put it away. I kind of want the patina to continue, like I said. Anyways, so that's all I got for this video. I hope you guys liked it, found something useful. Keep shooting black powder. Dusty Tucker signing out.